Okay, have you ever experienced this? You log into ChatGPT and you ask it to write you something about your area of expertise. So maybe you're a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher or a financial manager, whatever you know best. You go into the ChatGPT and you ask it to give you some answer or look something up, research something that you know well. The AI spits back something that sounds polished, but you can immediately see it's full of mistakes. It lacks nuance. Sometimes it's even just flat out wrong. You catch the errors because you know this stuff inside and out. And you hear lawyers, doctors, engineers, pretty much every professional also saying the same thing. They're saying AI is severely lacking when it comes to their area of expertise. So why is it then that we trust AI with pretty much everything else that isn't our area of expertise? Why do we give it this blind trust anywhere we can't personally double check the facts? So I totally did this the other day. Bear with me for this story. It's about fantasy football. I just done a draft with some of my friends, and for fun, we decided to make our scoring settings like really crazy. So one of the scoring settings was that if our quarterback threw a pass longer than 40 yards and completed that pass at any point in a game, that play would count for an additional 10 fantasy points toward that quarterback's total points. If you're not familiar with fantasy football, don't worry about it. Just know that that is a huge bonus of points. And I drafted two quarterbacks that I really felt like they had a huge potential to be the league leaders in deep ball throws. So my two quarterbacks that I drafted was Joe Burrow and Jared Goff. Felt like that was just the right two guys. So after the draft, I wanted to look into if I'd made a good decision. And I went to Google. Google's trusty AI delivered. After I asked it for stats on quarterbacks in 2024, it gave me this response. Joe Burrow, number one, had the most completions of 40 plus yards with 12 such plays. He was followed by Jared Goff with 11 and Baker Mayfield with 5. I was like, let's go. I'd hit the jackpot. So I quickly sent this screenshot to my friends and let them know that the season was already over before it began because I got the two highest scoring quarterbacks by a huge margin, at least in 2024. And they're like double the rest of the quarterbacks. So I was elated, of course. Turns out, of course, AI was completely incorrect and gave me a wildly incorrect answer. In 2024, in reality, Lamar Jackson led the league in 40-plus yard completions. I looked again today, actually, just to check on how this was going. It gave me a completely, again, different answer, but again, completely wrong. So it makes you wonder, how often is this happening? So I think we've stumbled into a weird collective habit. Call it the AI blind spot effect. So whenever AI messes up in our lane, we immediately catch it and distrust it. But the moment someone else praises it for their lane, we assume it must be incredible there, right? The lawyer says it's bad at contracts, but it's amazing at marketing copy, right? Because they're not a marketer. But then the marketer says it's bland at copywriting, but it's killer for coding, because they're not a coder. The coder thinks it's overhyped for programming, but swears that it's revolutionizing design, and on and on and on it goes. One by one, we all see the cracks up close when it comes to our field. But then we turn around and believe the tech is next to flawless everywhere else. This phenomenon isn't new though. Have you ever heard of gel man amnesia? The idea is pretty simple, right? So you read a news article about something you actually know really well, and you instantly spot all the mistakes. I mean, we've all done this before, right? You're reading something from the Wall Street Journal, or you're reading something more likely from BuzzFeed, right? Okay. You roll your eyes at how clueless the journalist who wrote the piece is regarding the topic. Maybe you laugh a little. Then you turn the page, or you go to the next article, and the next article, let's say it's about politics, and maybe you don't know anything about politics. You read on, and for some reason, you just take everything you just read in that article at face value. Suddenly, all the stories about stuff you don't know much about seem totally legit. Why do we do that? And yet we all do that, right? So it adds up to something dangerous, I think. It creates a halo effect where AI earns this reputation for brilliance it probably does not deserve. Individually, we all think, well, it's just my little niche where it struggles. But collectively, we start assuming it's smarter and more reliable than it actually is. And because AI speaks with total confidence as well, never stammers, never second guesses, it's easy to mistake its fluency for truth. That smooth tone makes nonsense sound like expertise. And that's how we get these headlines claiming AI doctors are here, when some studies actually show doctors using AI can get worse at diagnosing because they start doubting themselves. It's how we get AI tutors supposedly replacing school, when in reality, students using AI for essays often learn less because they outsource the heavy lifting of what their brain should be doing. The more we assume the tech is brilliant, the less likely we are to catch its mistakes. So here's the advice I would give to anyone using AI. Test it first on your own turf. Ask it questions you know inside out. And if it can't handle the basics in the area you understand, we should at least start assuming that it's at least sometimes dropping the ball elsewhere too. You just can't see it because you're not the expert there. Although, to be fair, and I do want to say, AI is not the enemy. I don't think AI is like a problem in the way a lot of people maybe do. I'm not anti-AI because it is improving very quickly. And some of today's hallucinations, they're going to vanish over time. I think we all realize that. And when humans actually collaborate with AI instead of just blindly trusting it, the results can be incredible. Productivity gains are definitely real. Whole industries are moving faster because of AI. And if we're going to just pretend that that doesn't exist, I think we're being just as dishonest on the other side, right? We need to be fair that AI is a pretty great technology. Like, let's be honest. Every technology, before it turned into something great, gets accused of ruining our brains at first. People said calculators would destroy math skills. They said Wikipedia would kill critical thinking, or Google would make us intellectually lazy. In the end, each of those tools changed which skills we focus on, not whether we have them at all, right? But even with those caveats, okay, the core problem is still here. When each of us just shrugs and says, it's bad at my thing, but it's probably great at yours, we accidentally build this myth that AI is better than it really is. And the truth is, this tech is like that overconfident friend who always sounds sure of himself. Fun to hang out with, great stories, but maybe don't trust him with directions to the airport or something much more serious like your medical diagnosis without double checking first. If we want to use AI well, we need to stay skeptical everywhere, not just in our own backyard, in our own area of expertise. Otherwise, we're the ones who are going to be hallucinating. We're going to be believing in a level of intelligence that just isn't quite there yet. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. If you agree with this take or if you disagree with this take, let me know down in the comments, and I'd love to hear what you think about this. Thanks so much for watching.